What's up, everyone? I'm Cole.
And I'm Shawn. Welcome to the Beyond the Stats podcast.
Some of our goals for this podcast is to be able to discuss just sports in general. Today, we're going to focus more on basketball, where we got training camp starting tomorrow. Well, I guess we're filming this Monday, releasing it Wednesday. So, yesterday for all of you guys. But going to focus strictly on basketball today. Majority Utah Jazz. Obviously, big Jazz fan. That's all the games we normally watch. But this podcast will follow football, soccer, Formula One, maybe even hockey, baseball, kind of touch all of it.
I've been watching a whole bunch of World Cup of Rugby. It's just
Yeah.
what we do, right? We
Yeah.
enjoy a wide variety of sports, and we enjoy talking about it, sometimes emotionally, yelling at each other and the TV,
Yes.
and
Very
other
much at the
times kind
TV.
of trying to get to just kind of two other levels involving stats and analysis and understanding the dynamic of what happens in professional organizations as well. So it's something we love to do and we do every day anyway. So why not put it on camera?
Yeah. Just like he said, it'll be cool too as we go on. We'll have my brother on here from time to time. He played college football, be able to just bring a lot of people and discuss sports more in depth than just what you're going to normally see on a box score or highlights from the day before, which I know a lot of people do.
Indeed.
But let's get into it. So, Utah Jazz training camp, like I said, for us starts tomorrow. We had media day today.
I've had October 3rd circled on my calendar for how long now? I've been going crazy.
Yes.
Part of it's because we have so many questions about just roster, who's going to get playing time, are there going to be trades right before?
Right. And I don't know. I'm curious to see. We didn't get to see Bryce Sensabaugh. We didn't get to see Taylor Hendricks at all in Summer League. I want to see what they can do at the NBA level. I want to see what they can do when they get pushed. I don't know if you, in the media, Taylor Hendricks talked about Colin Sexton has been like pushing him. They've been on the team, and Colin Sexton's been kind of riding him, trying to get him ready.
Because you know that Colin Sexton's going to be the most insanely intense person, even if they're doing a layup drill.
Yeah.
Like every time I go in these kind of different patterns of I won't see Sexton for a while because it's the off season or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, I don't know if he's going to be in there, and then I'll see an interview with him, and he's just burning through the
Just
camera with his
intense.
laser eyes. The intensity, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to start.
Dude.
I don't know for sure, but his intensity is through the roof.
Yes.
I loved also Chris Dunn in media today. In his interview, he talked about each one of the rookies. One of the journalists asked him to, and he said, he's really impressed with, Keontae's, he didn't say flair, but basically that, his ability to get out there and score and do things, and knows that he can help him with his defense, which is one thing we saw for sure.
Keontae actually talked about that too.
In Summer League. He
touched on that as well.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And that's okay. What he did in Summer League was some really good signs. He also Chris Dunn also mentioned with Taylor Hendricks that he calls him a hard hat. Basically, he's not going to do a lot of talking. He's just going to put his hard hat on. He's going to go to work.
That's fair.
I watched a ton of Taylor Hendricks this season. I was begging for the Utah Jazz to draft him, and you're my witness to this. I mean, first month of the college basketball season.
Right.
I was. This is a Jazz man. This guy will fit.
Well, that was the amount of times where they're playing him at the 5, but me, you, my dad talked about him at the 4 with Markkanen and Kessler would be perfect.
Yeah, and that I still believe that he's his game fits the modern style of the NBA. He's a 3-and-D guy. His D sometimes he gets a little bit upright, a little bit naive kind of, but his athleticism and his movement and his shooting stroke, money.
Yeah,
money. And then he talked about also Bryce Sensabaugh, just about how smooth he was and how he can score in just all different ways. And Bryce Sensabaugh is kind of the we'll see guy out of the draft. You know my feelings on it. I may have swore at the TV when they announced his name on the draft.
Sean wasn't too thrilled with that.
No, prove me wrong, brother. I love it. If you prove me wrong, it'd be awesome. But I had my eyes set on a couple other guys that I thought were better fits. There's no question that Sensabaugh early in the college season when he was healthy was an offensive force and had some impressive abilities, an NBA ready jumper at that point. Anyways, that's just kind of confessing and getting my feelings out there early. But I did yell at the TV on draft.
Yes. So we can't talk about media day without talking about John Collins. Brand new to the team, very clear. wants to go into Atlanta and kill Atlanta.
Can't wait, dude.
They're like, there is no question. With
Do we know the dates on if they come here first? We go. I don't know. We have to look at
yeah, I'm not sure
the schedule and see when that is. But I
he
loved it.
knows.
He knows. The journalist, for those of you who didn't see on media day, asked him, "So, do you have the date circled for the game against the Hawks, or is it kind of more?" And he jumped right in and says, "It's circled."
It's circled. Talked about the difference in Utah on not having any egos in training camp and with the team, and guys just wanting to get their job done.
I'm excited. The conviction in his voice. I mean,
and for you guys, we've been talking about John Collins on the Jazz for 3 years, 4 years.
For as long as he's been rumored to be being traded, which has been every year since he signed his big contract.
Yeah.
It seems like as soon as he signed the big contract, the talk immediately started.
Even before that. Like, he was young. Me and my dad were talking about, like, dude, this guy would be such a good fit next to Rudy Gobert.
Right. That's true. It was
and
Gobert
now he's, I think, going to be a perfect fit next to Walker Kessler and Markkanen. He gives us the size to be able to play Markkanen at the 3, as well as the athleticism to not feel like we're just playing 2 5s.
We know that from early in his career that he is a very efficient roll man.
Yes.
And the speed and energy in which he makes his cuts across the court, and Atlanta hardly ever used him on this, fits perfectly into what Will Hardy does.
Dude, him in the open court, him, Markkanen, Sexton, Agbaji, all in the open court is...
Yeah, we also didn't have a track team. That's true. That's pretty exciting. And the thing in watching John Collins, too, is I didn't realize this before, but he has a pretty good post game. Like back to basket, and he'll face up better than I thought. As I went back through and watched,
he had him as a small ball 5 quite a bit because of his ability to be a roller, but also be able to play down low.
Yeah, he's better than I realized he was. He can really take advantage of some mismatches there. I didn't realize this as well, but I mean, he had a rough start to this. His start was okay. The middle of the season, when he messed up his finger last season, was really rough, and then towards the end of the season, he finished off in the last, I believe it's 2 months of the season, shooting like 38 or 39%,
right,
from 3. And as they got into the playoffs, so Atlanta won the play-in game, and they faced off against the Celtics.
Yeah.
So that was their first round. Celtics went up a couple of games, and I watched games 5 and 6, and John Collins was money in those games.
I thought we weren't going to be able to trade for him at that point.
Yeah. He's playing too well. And even though, the heavy head down, maybe not head down because he has a ton of assists, but the ball pounding Trae Young on the team and their style that they jumped into made it really tough for him to get a flow. And there was a time where he'd hit 2-3 shots in a row and then wouldn't see the ball again for a good chunk of time.
Right.
Really frustrating. And a lot of that game 5, and especially in game 6, even though he was putting pressure on the Celtics in the post and at the 3, on the defensive side, a lot of times he was guarding Jaylen Brown.
Right.
Which,
like, straight up shooting guard.
Yeah, and I mean, Jaylen Brown was really good that series. He put up a ton of points.
Yeah.
But you can see just the understanding of his versatility, and especially when he has an increased amount of gravity, when he's hitting his shots, man, and his athleticism, I'm excited.
Well, and that's the thing is, if he can get back to shooting 38%, 39% from 3, in the corner, you're not going to be able to leave him, and then opens the lane for Markkanen. Even some of our guards, Keontae, Sexton, Clarkson, who are really good at getting to the rim. And then as that starts happening, his ability to slash.
The way that he can make his cuts, and you know how we would run the screen action for Markkanen out on the wing, where he'd come across kind of a double screen and cut into the lane, and we'd hit him right there. The amount of backside actions that you can do off that with cuts and stuff, and I mean lobs or to the corner, Will Hardy's going to be able to feast on that.
Right.
And I love that Will Hardy talked about also the sorry, got a little eye leaker here. Talking about John Collins playing with Olynyk and with Markkanen, or even you throw in Taylor Hendricks in there too, or whatever the matchups are, and the level of versatility. And we now have also defensive players. I'm just excited, man. I don't think I've ever been this excited for preseason NBA basketball.
Just to see who's on the court, who's going to be playing together. everything.
Yeah.
With that, let's go into preseason. What do we think? Like day one lineup, what do we think is going to happen? First game preseason. Who starts? Because that's the big question. We have 6 guards.
So you're talking this Sunday.
This Sunday.
What's the starting lineup this Sunday against the Clippers in the preseason game?
Yes.
I think we know the 3, 4, and 5. We know
yes,
that is.
That's yes. Should be Marketing Collins, Kessler.
Yeah, should be. So everybody's wondering about the 1 and 2. It makes some sense for size and defensive-minded situation to have Clarkson and Ochai Agbaji in there together.
And that's where, dude, I think, you read too much into these things on media day, but I think the way Hardy and Zanuck talked about the guard lineup and the competition there, and then there's 5 guys who are really fighting for that position almost at the 1, with Chris Dunn, Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, Talon Horton-Tucker, and Keontae George. Those are the 5 guys really competing for that starting position at the 1. It felt like right before that he mentioned how Agbaji is someone he's going to rely on this season. It felt like, at least early on, the 2 spot is Agbaji's to lose going into the season.
I would love that. We were calling for Agbaji to play when he was getting G League moments minutes last year. Right?
You know, for you guys, Agbaji was one of my favorite players in last year's draft. He was somebody I wanted desperately out of that draft. I felt like he fit so well with our team. And as he develops, I think he's going to develop a little bit more of an offensive game. And even if he doesn't, he is already in the upper echelon of 3 and D guys.
His baseline, his minimum that we think that he would hit fits into the modern NBA right now.
Yeah.
We know that you can put him in a corner and he'll shoot 39, 40% at the least. I think last year he was 45 from the corner threes. And then playing some defense. There are times that he also gets a little bit upright in kind of the naivete of being a rookie, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But the 3 and D element is there at the very least. And my goodness, the guy sprints backwards probably like 30 miles an hour.
Dude,
the stuff that he does on the court is insane.
He's got to be the fastest player in the NBA.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody run backwards faster than him.
Just a freak.
Once they put him into the starting role, our transition defense numbers all of a sudden came back around to being, better than they were, which was a huge weakness for us in the first half of last season. So I would love to see him at the 2. I think that the dream scenario would be to get Keontae George starting.
I would start him immediately because if you feel like this is a team that just needs to develop and it's a championship level team, but Keontae's that missing piece, just start.
So you're talking about
with the freaking
invest time in him right now. Understand that will come with losses.
Yeah. Live with
the losses to have him get the bruises and kind of speed up his development.
Yeah. And I could see it with Will Hardy talking about that they don't know if Clarkson's going to start or not. He brought that.
He did bring that up.
They didn't ask him, where do you think Clarkson's going to be? He openly brought it up and said it depends on, who fits where, if we start Jordan Clarkson or not.
And you can make the argument that Jordan Clarkson is a better player right now, easily, right? I think he is.
Yeah.
Is he a starter? Is he a starting 1 or 2 on a championship level team? No.
Is he a better point guard right now?
I don't know. Coming into the season, I would have said yes, because I didn't think that Keontae was that good of a playmaker.
Right.
Now, he did that in Summer League, right? I mean, Summer League is what it is, but you look for the signs that will be indicators of where the growth can go. That's what Summer League is. It's kind of like an academy structure when you're looking at different sports. But so we saw the signs of his gravity from shooting, which was insane. His movement, his playmaking, the way that when he was on the court, every other player had more space and it just flowed better. These are things that I would not have said were a part of his game right now coming into the draft.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I was a little down on
that.
Keontae George coming in as we're in the confession booth here. We saw that. I mean, I watched Keontae George back when he was at IMG, even, and everybody saw the flair and the moxie and the way that he carried himself, and just a a killer that always wanted the final shot. We saw that in high school. That was amazing. But his decision making, playmaking, I really didn't see that. Saw some real signs that were negative at Baylor. You can see now how you can rationalize how there were kind of some things going on there that maybe didn't fit into perfectly what he was hoping going in there. I think that he assumed that Flagler and Cryer, the other two really high level guards at Baylor, were going to be gone.
Well, and he even talked about, I mean, it's something he's talked about before, but he talked about in his media day that, he's lighter than he was going into his college season last season because he had to play a different role.
They asked him to bulk up and play the three. So there's some things going on, but he's showing some signs that I would have said, no, he doesn't have that, 3-4 months ago. And that's what's beautiful about watching young players develop.
And I also think,
love that.
I think a lot of my frustrations with Jordan Clarkson being in the starting lineup is we're trying to make him someone he's just not. Jordan Clarkson was at his best when it was come off the bench and just freaking put the ball in the hoop. That's it. When you start trying to make him at 31, 32, completely change his style of game, he put up huge numbers, sure, but was it super beneficial for the team? Or is it more beneficial to let him just freaking cook off the bench?
Yeah. So I think he turns 31 this year during the season, I think. Anyways, he's up there, past what's considered his prime. Now, this last year was his highest season of his entire career for assists per game, right?
Yes.
And I think it was 4 assists a game.
It was like 4.5.
We did see a couple of games where he came out and was dishing the ball early.
Right.
Had like 3 or 4 assists in the first half, and our team was cooking because of it. But it was the anomaly. It was the exception of the rule. It's not basically who he was. And how many times did we see that there was an extra pass to a Markkanen, to a shooter that's somewhere that didn't happen because he's basically looking for his shots, and that's great if you're the flamethrower coming off the bench.
Well, and that's the thing though is, dude, you could see his confidence in even shooting towards the end of it just wasn't the same that it was the year before. And I think a big part of that is him trying to play outside of who he is. He's thinking too much. He's not just reacting now. He's now having to try to overthink every little thing that he does.
It'll be interesting to see how the preseason lineups start, the regular season. There's no question that you can picture a championship level team that has a player like him coming off the bench. There's no question.
And that's my thing.
And if he's on fire, let him finish the game.
Right. He doesn't have to start to be able to finish the game, but you have to be willing, if he's missed 10 shots in a row, to say, hey, you're not playing the end of this game. And I think Will Hardy can do that.
Yeah, have a little breather. Last year also kind of seemed a little bit like Will Hardy was trying to let everybody find their expressive selves and go way beyond. I mean, like the stuff that he had Ochai doing towards the end of the season. We won't see him do that when the season really matters, right? Or the things through Summer League. But kind of trying to find their limits and see what happens when they're allowed to skip freely in the mountain meadow.
Sure.
That's what it is. Pretty sure.
The problem also, though, is, so let's say they start Clarkson at the 2. Like midway through the season, and you've got Keontae at the 1 at that point. Or if you don't start Keontae George. So if you start Agbaji and you bring Keontae George off the bench, you're having Keontae George and Clarkson off the bench at the same time. And we both know their limits defensively.
That would be murder. We would get
killed.
Get destroyed. We would get killed.
So I feel like you need to stagger them. And whether that's starting Clarkson at the 1 next to Agbaji or starting Keontae at the 1, I'd rather Keontae. But if you're not going to start Keontae, I'd personally rather see Clarkson at that point just start at the 1.
I have seen some shows that have, podcasts, whatever, on YouTube that say that they want either Sexton or Clarkson on the court at all times. I'm one that I want Chris Dunn or Agbaji on the court at all times. I want one of those two. Just because
the defense that they bring is...
We've got to balance it out and have the defense and be able to cover. We know that we'll have the versatility and the shot blocking and off-ball shot blocking too in our bigs that will really make a difference. But if we try and play George and Clarkson together, that's pretty scary. There's just not a defensive base there yet. So
So do we think with preseason, how much do you think we see Taylor Hendricks playing the 5?
Taylor Hendricks at the 5.
Do we try that early,
Man, I don't know if he gets much really,
or is he strictly John Collins' backup?
because I mean we know Kessler's going to start. Will Hardy has talked about the John Collins and Olenek together dynamic. I mean, so are we talking that he's the third 5? I would expect him to get some kind of garbage minutes at the 4.
Yeah,
Depending on how preseason goes, maybe even a little touch at the 3 as well. But I think
I don't.
he's going to have kind of
I think
10 to 15 minutes at the 4.
his minutes are going to be really hard to get to too, because we play Markkanen a lot of times as our backup 4. And if we're trying to get 6 guards playing time, your rotation's probably going to be sliding Markkanen to the 4. First subs, whether it's Clarkson, Count George, or whatever. Baji slides to the 3. Markkanen slides to the 4.
Yeah, that's interesting. And if Taylor Hendricks gets in there minutes at the 4 while Markkanen's at the 3, the other team's going to try and throw their slower guy onto Taylor Hendricks because he hasn't proven himself that he can dribble really and attack off the dribble that well yet. They're going to try and go with a bigger size guard, kind of like how Sacramento does with Harrison Barnes, right? And so we like that.
Yeah.
I accept your terms. And they would have, like a Keegan Murray type who they would put out on Taylor Hendricks or John Collins when he's starting, that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I don't know at the 5 if you don't have to have as much beef in the NBA now at the 5. I don't know if he'll be able to. There are certain lineups he'd really struggle with. Let's say that.
I think if he comes in, I think I think they might try him at the 5 if they're looking at moving Olenek. I think they play him somewhat at the 5 if they're looking at Olenek being a possible trade piece and essentially planning on Hendricks playing the backup 5 role this season.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. What pieces are we going to move? And I mean, we even talked about that with the guards. I mean, we have essentially 4 combo guards in Chris Dunn. Not talking about Ochai Agbaji, talking about Clarkson, Sexton, Taylor Horton Tucker, Keontae George. They're all essentially combo guards, right?
Yes. We have one like true 3-and-D shooting guard in Agbaji, and one old-fashioned point guard in Chris Dunn.
Who I love, by the way. and seeing that guy today in the media in his interview, I really think, and I've said this to you before, that out of the 3 of Clarkson, Sexton, and Taylor Horton Tucker, we need to move one of them.
I was thinking about this today.
At least.
So I was thinking about this today of if we really want to get these guys time, if we really want to solidify the team, we don't want to run into the Thunder problem and just have too many pieces that you can't really develop them. I think we need to move 2, if not 3 of our 6 guards. If we get a guard back. So if we're getting a guard back that's going to need playing time, like Tyler Hero, that's been talked a lot about, or something like that, I think you have to move 3 of them.
So of the 6 guards you're talking about,
so Tucker, I think you have to move Tucker.
2, 3, 4, which high. In Taylor Horton Tucker, Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, they all 3 have traits that are nice to have off the bench,
for sure,
and impactful. There are parts they have that don't really fit them into a starting role either. Will Hardy mentioned that maybe we're the team that has a different starting lineup every 10 days. Oh, I don't dig that. That sounds to me like, we're just going to rotate quarterbacks. We're just going to alternate our starting quarterbacks, and it'll work this time, even though in the history of sport it's never worked. That sounds
I
that's
think
rough.
The only way I'd be okay with that is if that's like early on, and then as we get later into the season, we've got way more solidified. We've made some moves. Okay, this is solidified. Let's get a lot of chemistry with these guys, go into the next off season with the expectation that this is the team we're going to make a run with. I'm okay with that for the first 20, maybe 30 games.
30 games.
Maybe.
That's a lot.
Maybe.
That's a lot.
That's be pushing. Maybe 25. Let's go 25. And that's like
I don't know.
the high end.
I don't know, dude. I can't do that. That's I think that Will Hardy is an amazing communicator. He blows me away the way that he talks on camera, and we've seen him on sidelines talking with
Right.
players. That being said, that doesn't seem like that would really work. It seems like something that you can, like you're saying, start off, maybe give it some looks. At some point, though, you've got to move off some players.
So maybe first 15.
Something.
Right? First 10, 15, you're kind of playing around with a little bit, and then at that point, Danny Ainge comes in and makes some stupid trade.
It looks like a scene off of Moneyball. You can't play Clarkson tonight. Yes, I can.
Yes.
No, you can't. He plays for Detroit now.
Yeah. He's playing with Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland.
Exactly. Goes back to Cleveland. So I don't know. I think that Taylor Horton Tucker's value is never going to be as high as it is right now.
With the way he ended last season and how
his numbers,
praising him,
praying to him.
Yeah.
There's other players like that too. Kelly Olynyk is a FIBA superstar,
but not
in the NBA. I don't think that his talent, his status, value will ever be as high. Maybe not ever, because he's going to play Olympics next summer too. But coming off of these FIBA windows are prime trading times, and I like Kelly Olynyk and a lot of the stuff he brings. He just has value as a trading piece. It's an expiring contract, kind of a versatile big that can shoot and stretch the floor.
Right.
But he would also be those things for us.
That's the thing is we also, if you keep him as your backup 5, that's crazy versatility on your, and then
love that.
And then it's okay playing Taylor Hendricks as well. Him and Taylor Hendricks together off your bench. It allows Taylor Hendricks to learn from that, but also play more of 4, which I think he's going to be better at.
Yep.
I don't know. Like I said, dude, if we really want to solidify our guard lineup, if we want Chris Dunn minutes, we think he really can be that hard-nosed, get us to a championship type player. I think you have to move Tucker. I think you have to move Sexton. I love Colin Sexton.
I do too.
But I think drafting Keontae George and where we expect Keontae George's timeline now and the expectations there and the development we want to get there, I think you have to move Sexton.
And I think that he'll explode early on in the season.
Yes.
Because, I mean, he talked about it in his interview today. He's finally couldn't do this offseason because he was coming off of surgery.
Right.
He had the offseason to be able to really get to where he wanted to be lifting weights. His power, his stamina, everything is there. I think he'll explode at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I think Taylor Horton Tucker will struggle to see the court, and I think that his value will go down coming off of.
That's what you just trade him right now.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Looking at it from a general, right, playing general manager.
Yeah. So we're obviously not crazy high on Tucker. Big part of it comes down to he's going into his 4th season, and he's essentially been the same player he was since he was a rookie with the Lakers. It's the same player, and that player's not going to help a championship team. And like you said, it's not a guy in a year or two you move for the same ability you can move today.
This is his window. It's the same reason why.
Or he just goes to sign.
If the market hadn't changed, he probably would have gone out there and tried to, declined his option and pick up a contract. Yep. I think that would have happened.
100%.
Just because of the timing of his perceived value. That's a real thing, right? And he has some traits that are very nice. I love how strong he is and kind of comes in defensively, smashes some people and gets some blocks and hustles and gets some dunks. It's just that when he is in there, I think it's overall a net negative because the amount of times that he has teammates open or even plays being called for other teammates, that teammate will be coming around to screen and expecting it, and he's already head down, pounding towards the hoop. And
that's
it's the ball doesn't move. He slows the ball down. It stops at him.
And that's something that if you're looking just at a box score,
right?
Holy crap, look at the numbers this guy just put up.
Look at the amount of assists he had even. But how did those assists come about?
How many times were those assists because he just dribbled his, head down, like you said, pounding the dribble, 4 guys on him. He finally has to pass it. And just it now with 2 seconds on the shot clock, somebody makes a shot for him at that point. But it's not good offense.
Kind of end of the season, empty stats, right? And don't get me wrong, the dude's an amazing ball player. He would kick the crap out of us.
His usage rate was wild at the end of the season.
Yeah, way too high.
It's like the thing.
As much as I love
Agbaji, they were like, well, look at how much numbers he was putting up at the end of the season. What, like 16, 17 points a game for the last 15. His usage rate was higher than it
Way
will
too high.
ever be in
Yeah.
his career.
Yeah, way too high. I love that they were pushing him to do that because you can see it's kind of in the plan of what more can this guy do above 3-and-D.
Right.
Whereas the scouting report, if you go down the list of the talents of Taylor Horton Tucker, you can find a spot on teams for that. You can even find spots coming off the bench on a championship level team. I'm not saying you couldn't.
Yeah.
But we have 3 guys with essentially the same combo guard type of impact, not the exact same impact, but type of impact. And to me, I think we needed to move on 2 of them, 2 of the 3, keep one of them, and really move Keontae George into his minutes this year. And
the only way I would be okay if we don't trade Sexton is if we trade Clarkson. Like you said, I feel like we have to move 2 of them. We might have to move all 3. If we go get Tyler Hero, for example, let's play that out. But we don't get rid of all 3 of them.
Yeah,
you're one. Chris Dunn doesn't ever see the court. I think he's a huge piece to what he can bring. I think he's going to really show this season. He showed it last season. I think he's really going to show this season on why he was such a high draft pick early on, and he just had crap luck.
It's true. Boy, some of the timing of those injuries and couldn't really get into therapists and everything during COVID is an interesting story. I think Chris Dunn is going to be valuable to this team, but I think that if we make it into an actual playoff series, Chris Dunn is a playoff basketball player.
Yes.
That's the guy that you want out there that's
a
dog
war.
And willing to run the show like that and be a defensive monster and get to the hole. I mean, watching the game we played against the Nuggets late in the season, and there were a couple of possessions down the stretch. And it wasn't down the stretch because they sat their starters, so it was like third quarter where he was going at Aaron Gordon with the Nuggets. And how many times he just dribbled, bumped him off in the key, and just put in a little layup. I mean, that's freaking Aaron Gordon, dude.
And I was going to say, if anyone watched the finals, Aaron Gordon beat the tar out of people.
Out of the Miami guards, for sure.
Miami players.
And so to have him do that.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, Aaron
Butler
Gordon
struggled against.
To have him pull that off and just like freaking mean mugged him, and it was kind of abusive, just like, ooh.
And the biggest thing that this team has been missing since we traded guys like Jay Crowder, you want to go be deep in the playoffs, win a championship, you need some dogs.
Absolutely do.
You need some gritty guys, which is why I'd be okay with keeping Sexton as our 6th man.
That's true.
Because he is a dog, dude.
That's true.
So let's say
the dilemmas.
Like end of season this year or next season when we're really trying to make a playoff run. Keontae George is developed into the point guard we hope he can be. You're starting Keontae George and Agbaji. Your bench guard lineup is freaking Chris Dunn and Colin Sexton. That is, oh man, I would hate to play against that.
Yeah, and then I mean, finish out that lineup. You know, if it were to be like, what would the rest of the lineup be? I don't know, like if
you're talking about bench lineup.
Yeah, so Sensabaugh, Taylor Hendricks, and Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah.
Is that the backup 5?
Or
Samanic or Fontecchio if he's around.
Or Fontecchio, like
that's somebody who we haven't even talked about. He was first team
all FIBA. Yeah. He played great. The question is,
can he make it happen? Right?
Is he a FIBA? Is he a strictly really good FIBA? Because he was an all-star overseas before he came over.
Yeah, he was
and played with us.
Very high level scorer,
so
very recognized that way.
Is that a guy?
European players, it takes them a full year to really get comfortable, and usually it's the second year. If they do make it, is when they start showing signs. Is this going to be a situation with him?
That's half the reason why I'd be okay with moving Olynyk and playing Hendricks at the backup 5, because then you allow Samanic and Fontecchio to get minutes.
Yeah, those guys will be interesting. We've got so many players. I just
feel like we're so
wonder if they're going to even get a real look, which is a good problem to have, right? But
yeah.
So we need to talk. You were talking about Tyler Hero coming here, who's by the way another combo guard. He's just a higher level one, right? It's the upgrading game. It's the consolidation game of trading some of our talent, and upgrading it into a higher level piece.
And I think he's a younger version of what they want Jordan Clarkson to be right now, over what they want him last year to be. The point guard, combo guard who can come in, facilitate, put up really good assists, and really move the floor and keep the offense going and run the offense, but also be just a freaking spark plug as well. I think he is a young version of what they want Clarkson to be.
Younger, higher level. It's true, and that's why it's important that we have these consolidation moments.
I think people don't realize how competitive the finals would have been if Tyler Hero was healthy.
Man, that would have been interesting. Would Duncan Robinson have got as much play? That would have been interesting. And Strus kind of went cold in the finals, right?
But they would have had the chance to play Duncan Robinson because Strus went cold.
It would be interesting to see. I mean, there are some people saying, see how good they did without him, so that's why they don't need him. And you can tell that some of the stresses that John Collins had over the past few years, Tyler Hero is experiencing.
Yes.
And feeling that obviously he's the odd man out and will eventually be out. In those situations, you have to be a pro, but
do you want
on the personal side? That's hard.
So let's go into trade talk and the guard talk, right? That we've been talking about. If let's say we have an option to pick up Hero, would you rather trade for Hero or just start Keontae George right now?
If Keontae George is our guy, I would like to get him involved more right now than picking up Hero. One of the things that picking up Hero would do, however, is it gives you another kind of mid-level piece that could be traded for a true monster if they come available.
True.
Because Hero's, he's going to make 27 this year, 29, 31, and then 33. That fourth year's a player option. We don't really have any other salaries to match salaries if something comes available.
True. I'd be okay with it if the idea was we're trading all three of those guys, Sexton, Clarkson, Tucker, some way or another, and Keontae George is essentially the sixth man. Keontae George can come in, still work on developing, playmaking, things like that, but just be a freaking lightning in a bottle.
So how many minutes a game would you like to see him get this year?
Keontae George?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, because we need a point guard to run this team and another star with marketing, I would 25 to 30.
That's a lot.
And
that's a lot.
And I'm okay with accepting the horrible pains of turnovers and crap plays and losses with that. I'm okay with accepting that. Do I think they do that? No.
I think 20 is a good range to me. That gives him a lot of time to stub his toe, right? Have the wins and the losses within a game. You know, not necessarily talking about wins or losses, but I think that's a good level.
I think a big reason why I want 25 to 30 is this is a kid who works his freaking butt off. I would like to see in those games of those losses that he's taking to just have a chance to figure it out. There's gonna be times when you just pull him, right? Obviously, but the times of like, even if it's a call timeout, but you keep him out there and I'm like, dude, figure it out, right? This is the pain.
Boy, we would have to see a heck of a preseason out of him to reach that level of trust. Just because if you go back and look at rookies,
so I'd be okay
even high level rookies, that they really struggle to figure it out right away.
So if we're talking very, very beginning of the season, I'm okay with 20. By the end of the season, I want to see 25 to 30 minutes a game. By the end of the season, I'm okay with starting it at 20. I would like to see him at 20 if he's legit. If he's going to be legit the freaking point guard of this team of the future, by the end of the season, I'd like to have gotten him to 25, 30 minutes.
If that were the case, it would mean that he is hitting unbelievable levels to be able to do that, which would be awesome. Which would be awesome.
Right.
I think that's going to be a little bit tough to get to. But
at
either way,
at the same time, we didn't think he could do what he did in the summer league, which it's summer league for sure. But we didn't think there was anywhere he was going to be considered the summer league MVP.
That exceeded what I thought was his ceiling going in. And I watched a lot of college basketball. That exceeded what I thought he would be, what I thought would be possible from him. I thought that he would have high level moments, but
And
For sure, he exceeded it.
I think him playing a lot of those minutes with Markkinen and Kessler and Agbaji would help him so much.
No question.
So you play those higher minutes, but majority of them are with those guys. It's going to hide some of his mistakes, but it's also going to allow him to be a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah. And any of you, if you've been around young players and what they need to achieve potential, they need obstacles. They need to fall down. They need to stub their toe. They need to fall on their face
And I think
learn to handle winning and losing. That's the best prescription.
And I think what I'm looking at is how Agbaji went like this last season until we gave him serious minutes. He went from this and went like that, right? As what he could do for our team. Not every rookie's going to make a giant jump like that. Same thing with Kessler. Kessler started with 15, 20 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of it, he was our starting center. I would like to see 15, 20 minutes game starting for Keontae George, and by the end of it, he's our starting point guard.
That would be a great story, and it would mean success for us if it did, right? and just ask yourself, what do you think Keontae George's stats would be if he were to get the play time and the usage minutes that Taylor Horton Tucker got into this last season, right?
Dude.
I mean, he put up big points. We know that, right?
Yeah.
He'd probably give up layup after layup too.
For sure.
Because his defense was horrible. But
for sure.
But think about it in regards to that usage. So,
but Clarkson also gives up layup after layup. So legit, if you watch the games, the amount of times that Clarkson just kind of plays Olay defense, right, and just moves to the side and doesn't really even try on the defensive end.
It doesn't fit what a starting high-level player in the NBA should do. It fits what a flamethrower coming off the bench would do.
Yeah,
that fits. So,
yeah,
unbelievable talent. You know, we're fortunate to have him for the role that he could play. I just think that doesn't really fit for the next couple of years and where we're looking to go. And if the value is there in a trade, we should look at it.
For sure. For sure. If we're going to be serious about trying to win a championship, I agree. And you got to be okay with pain, which is why Dennis Lindsey's not here anymore. You know, it's true. It's why he's not here anymore. It's why Justin Zanuck's the GM and not him. Is because I think Zanuck is willing to. Danny Ainge helps. Danny Ainge helps.
He's a cold-blooded killer, man. What are you talking about?
Justin Zanuck is willing to make those moves. So, talking about end of the year, let's move a little bit to the forwards. What do you want to see out of John Collins? What is a successful season out of John Collins?
What is a successful metric? I mean, what was it? It was his second year that they made the run to the Eastern Conference Finals with the Hawks, correct? I think his rookie year.
I think it was his second year.
And what's amazing is you'll even see in John Collins interviews that he said that he really didn't even start focusing on shooting the three until he got into the NBA. When he came out of Wake Forest, he was not a shooter. I don't even think he shot a three at Wake Forest.
I'm not sure. I didn't watch enough of him to know in college.
And so basically talk about the ability to really focus on something and adjust to how the league is changing. He basically worked on that his rookie year. And then going into his second year is where he averaged 22 and 10, almost 11 rebounds, I think.
Jeez.
And shot, I think, 39, nearly 40%. From three, which is incredible. In that year, I mean, he had some incredible posters. The one over Embiid that was just ferocious. He went to a press conference and had that picture on his T-shirt. Did you see that? Yes. That was awesome. Woo, you got to have some stones to pull that one off,
dude. What do you want to see out of him?
So I'm just kind of trying to trace back through the history here. The next year, they kind of started to switch to, I believe it was Capella at that time, a little bit more on the five, because Capella was a little bit of a rim protector, better defender, and he could roll the rim, but Capella can't shoot to save his life.
Capella was essentially, for the Hawks, what DeAndre Jordan was for the Lob City.
And so that pushed, all of a sudden, John Collins out to just trying to space the floor and took him out of a lot of what his strengths were. So his usage went down, his numbers went down. And then last year, even with the finger injury and stuff, I think he ended at like 29% on the year from three.
Right.
He had a good stretch at the end of the season where he was shooting. I really seeing the work and stuff that's being put in, getting some glimpses and some ideas of that, and seeing the conviction in his eyes in the interviews, and the talk from teammates saying that he's hitting shots in the open runs and he's an unselfish player and easy to play with. I'm getting warmer. I'm getting filled with warm feelings. How do I say this, man? I'm excited about what he's doing, dude. And so I think a successful season for him. I mean, this last year he was something like, I can't remember. He was down quite a bit. I don't necessarily think he's going to get back to the 22-10 or the 22-11 because I think that we have a lot of big pieces down there at the bigs, but I think that he will work with them seamlessly. If he gets up to a 17-8 level, is that what you're going to say?
I was going to say 18-8. So
I think that's a wild success because, yeah, if he were somebody that we concentrated in flowing the ball through a lot more, I think his numbers could be higher. I think he has that ability, but I think that he will work so seamlessly with Kessler and Markkanen, Taylor Hendricks, Kelly Olynyk, all of those pieces that we can put together unique, versatile ways of pressuring and running at a team, that it's going to be success.
Well, and in the way that Hardy talked about that Kessler and Markkanen he needs to prepare them to be playing a lot of minutes with John Collins. I think for the trade to have been worth it, we need to be in the 16-18 range, in the 7.5 to 9.5 range on rebounding. Like realistically, for that trade to have been really worth what we're trying to build around, and I think he can be. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see him come out and be our second leading scorer this season behind Markkanen.
It could be. Especially if we don't have a combo guard that's a black hole. Did I go into that one? Sorry. Anyways, I agree. He very well could be. And I like the level of athleticism. Watching Tony Jones was on a program, and he was talking about our level of athleticism with those players is very high. And I agree. And the other person on the show was like, no, well, what about this other team has this player? Are you saying, well, yeah, another team has one athletic player. But to have that many athletic, versatile bigs and guards flying at you that we can with different lineups and through the game, I think that we will run on teams hardcore this year. And our athleticism will overwhelm some teams. Not all of them, some.
Well, and if our athleticism doesn't, our size will.
Well, it's athleticism with size. That's killer.
That's the thing. That's why I am so excited to see Kessler this season. I am so excited for the freaking Sacramento Kings to start this season, dude. To see, the Kessler Sabonis matchup. End of the season, the last two games we played against him, when Kessler kind of figured it out, man, Sabonis struggled against him. I expect that to be Kessler on 95% of the bigs this year, at least defensively, to really freaking eat them open, and just eat on the defensive side of the court. There's guys like Jokic and Embiid, that they're Anthony Davis. They're gonna get their numbers.
Yep, they are that great players.
Beyond that, I'd like to see Kessler be a guy that you're putting his name because of what, at the very least defensively. That's not even talking about what he's shown development-wise, shooting in the offseason and athleticism. I think my true expectation is by the end of the season, when you're talking about bigs, when you're talking about fives, that you are looking at Walker Kessler as a top 5 big.
A top 5 big. That would be a jump.
Because how many what bigs are you putting over him with where we expect him to be? Embiid, Davis, Jokic. Who are you putting above him be after that of where we expect him to be?
You have to go off stats and numbers, right?
For sure.
Stats and numbers, Sabonis has crazy numbers.
For sure.
Even though on the matchup, Kessler seems to smack him around recently. And Sabonis kind of struggled in the playoffs as it went along with rebounding and that kind of stuff. But Sabonis is going to be up there. You're going to have players like Bam that would be rated up there. I watched a program that was trying to rate the top 10 centers in the league last year, and they didn't have Kessler in the top 10. And they had players, like
I'm okay.
Valanciunas, that like Vucevic.
And I'm okay with him not being in the top 10 last year. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But going into this season, of where I'd like by the end of this season, Valanciunas he should be better than Valanciunas.
That'll be interesting to see. I don't. That's one of the storylines talking about during the year.
I think by the end of this season, you're going to be looking at similar to what Gobert was doing in his high level seasons with us. Maybe not as well rebounding because we are huge.
Yeah, that's true. We will poach some of the numbers from him.
But offensively, his numbers are great. He may not have as good as defensive numbers that Gobert had at his elite years.
Yeah.
But this is also a dude who had, 4.5 blocks a game in college. And then as a rookie had 2.5 almost, just over 2.
Yeah, and if you put him at, what's the stat where they put him at per 40 minutes? I mean, his blocks per 40 minutes would have been over 4. So there's no question that he has some impactful traits. That'll be interesting to see. Another question I have about Kessler is, what kind of a player is he in the playoffs?
Right.
Because we all know the game changes in the playoffs. I was thinking about this the other day, like during the season, I fully expect the Jazz to have a better record than the Pelicans in the West.
Yeah.
Because we all know they're going to be injured. We all know that they have some issues they need to get into the therapist about, and things that are hitting the news. But if we got matched up with the Pelicans, both teams fully healthy in the playoffs, I don't think we win that.
Man,
I don't think we win it. It'd be just because of how playoff basketball is, and that's obviously assuming if they're healthy. I think
you're assuming a healthy Zion and Brandon Ingram in that lineup.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I love Trey Murphy too. He's a stud, and
Dude.
we're talking about Valanciunas, but
yeah.
I think the Pelicans would take us in a playoff series.
Yeah.
In that situation, and I also think that our team is kind of geared more towards the regular season right now with how our roster is. But Kessler alone, what would his strengths and weaknesses, how would that change in a playoff scenario? I know there's something just popping on you right now, but this is what we do, man.
I know. I'm just trying to think. I think the strength, we'll see as the season starts, but the strength that he will have been able to add this season for some of the times when he got moved around last season and stuff when he shouldn't have, or the younger mistakes, I actually think the benefit of not getting calls as much in the playoffs, where they don't call it quite as tight in the playoffs and they allow people to be more physical, can be a huge benefit for him, unless we play someone like Zion Williamson or Jokic even.
Yeah.
Would
teams seek him out? Would teams try and switch onto him? Because he has talked about, one thing he's working on is developing his defensive game from being a drop center to be able to be more switchable.
Right.
To more positions. I mean, would teams seek him out?
I think his first season, yes. First season in the playoffs, yeah. Like if we make the playoffs this year, guards are going to be searching for him.
Yeah. His free throws
and attacking him.
His free throws are nowhere near where they need to be.
For sure.
That's a struggle. It would be interesting to see if we got into a, let's say
why we need to make the playoffs this year. Realistically, we need to.
If we get a 7-2 matchup or whatever in that first round, and we're playing, Phoenix, or we're playing Denver, or, could even be the Lakers with how they've stocked up. What are the matchups there? What happened in playoff basketball when everything slows down, when the easy stuff that your team is used to getting during the season goes away?
Right.
And they intentionally hunt matchups.
Right.
I mean, that's the reason with Donovan Mitchell why we struggled, because teams would hunt those matchups. The reason why the Cavaliers are struggling now with problems with the small guards and no defensive shooting three.
Yes.
Excuse me. So those are some of my questions of Kessler in the playoffs. What does he become?
Yeah, I don't know. I really think it could go either way with Kessler, with the growth that he was able to get last season. But I do think at least in the first round, let's say we only go in the first round, I think he would get eaten alive, because there's such a shift in the playoffs that if we play a veteran team, oh man, there's just things that are different in the playoffs that
You might see us have to close with Olenek and John Collins and
yeah.
Markkinen or something like that. I mean, that very well could be. Whereas I think Chris Dunn gets in there and excels.
Yes.
Chris Dunn will get in there and eat, man.
Yeah, he's gonna.
That's why
Chris Dunn's gonna get in there and do what Joe Ingles did to Paul George.
Yeah, that's true. I really do believe that not only do we need to guarantee Chris Dunn's contract this year, we need to sign him to 2 more years.
Yeah.
After this, he's not going to get a high level contract. It's not going to be league minimum, but a little bit over that. I think we need to. I think it fits what our team's trying to do. If I were GM, that's what I would suggest, and that kind of stuff.
Fair enough. Are there any other players you want to talk about this season of kind of what we want to see out of them? Or do we just want to go down into kind of where we think very, very early how we think the end of the season is going to shake up?
There's always stuff we can talk about with players. I wouldn't mind doing kind of expectations and ending off on that and putting kind of our name out there and saying, here's where I think they'll end, and take the repercussions off of being wrong or right. Or
with players or teams?
With the teams.
Okay, let's do it. So, Western Conference. Who do you have 1 seed? I have Phoenix. I think the trade they just made,
that was big.
Last week I would have had Denver above them. The trade they just made to give them depth that they needed desperately. And I think Nurkic, with what they want to do with their bigs, Nurkic is a better fit.
Nurkic is nice.
I think Phoenix is number 1 this year.
Grayson Allen, Nasir Little. Who was the third? Keon Johnson.
Was Keon Johnson a part of that trade?
Yes. So those 3 being able to jump in off the bench, that's huge. Dude. And I mean, they have Jock Londale, I believe they signed as their backup center, right? That was early on in the offseason.
They just got the depth that they desperately need.
Yeah, that could be it. Also, we were talking tonight. Shout out to Devin Booker, man. I was looking at stats for last season. He finished 5th overall in the season in field goal percentage.
Which is wild.
To have a guard with that much
volume.
Yeah, volume. Finish that high. That's insane. What a player, man. Anyways, I could buy into Phoenix taking the 1 seed. Denver's right up there too. Are they?
I think Denver and Phoenix truly are a toss-up.
Losing Bruce Brown's a little bit tough.
And that's where I think Christian Braun going into his next season is going to be a slide really well into what Bruce Brown gave them.
I agree. He's the guy. Can he pull it off to that level? That'll be interesting. I know that's what their coaching staff is on record about.
I'm also another season off of Jamal Murray's injury, man. I don't even want to think of what he's going to do this year.
Yeah, they're fun. I love seeing Michael Porter Jr. excel finally after all those injuries. He has his struggles too, but man, the player that kid was in high school and college. Well,
yeah,
play in college.
I was
really, Missouri
high school,
but going into college was amazing. Anyway, so seeing that kid's adversity and come through and getting a ring, and
so then are you saying you think Denver number 1 for you?
I would say Denver number 1 just because I don't know the Bradley Beal. Devin Booker 1 and 2, and I've expressed my love for Devin Booker just a minute ago, and I really wonder about Kevin Durant's durability.
Yeah,
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to say if Phoenix came in number 1, I'd be like, oh my gosh, you could have seen it. But
I think Chris Paul being hurt in the playoffs and forcing Booker to be the go-to playmaker on that team. That's why I have them at number 1. That development that we saw out of him in the playoffs last season, that next step that I didn't think he had.
And you saw that playoff ferocity out of him.
Oh my gosh.
It's there, man. What a player.
So you got Denver 1, Phoenix 2?
Denver 1, Phoenix 2.
I was going to say, my list. Who do you have at 3?
I can't even remember who you said at 3.
Sacramento.
You said Sacramento. I think that Sacramento's kind of going to waver in there, to be honest. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is fantastic.
My chair was falling.
Going forward. Your gaming chair getting you. Sabonis is hit and miss with certain matchups. I mean, Looney destroyed him.
Well, it's big. I beg that dude worked on his right hand.
And he can only go one direction. Yeah.
I don't know for you guys if you didn't watch playoffs or if you didn't notice. Freaking Sabonis, it was mentioned like the first game against the Warriors that he won't go right. I believe counting it, he went 3 or 4 times, and that's max. In the series, he went back to his right hand to finish. He always went left to finish, and they just started playing him for that. And so if he doesn't develop that, man.
And he's a great versatile center, and it works really nice in that dribble handoff kind of system they've got set up. I think Keegan Murray's going to make a huge step forward this season. My goodness, he looked good.
So the reason I have them at 3 is I don't trust the Clippers and the Lakers to be able to have a full season healthy. I don't trust them. I think the Kings in the regular season, I don't think they go as deep as the Lakers or Clippers in the postseason, maybe. But and that, is neither here nor there. But regular season wise, I think that they will be the more healthy team, and because of that, will come out on top with a better record. I also don't think LeBron gives a crap about regular season record.
Yeah, you could very well make that argument. I have the Lakers at 3. Okay. Is where I think they'll end up. You could very easily convince me of
Close Davis.
Street Close Davison. I mean, in some of these free agents that they signed, or like at their center, and they signed I'm going to blank on names right now. The center that was playing with the Mavericks was with Houston before, that they just signed for a league minimum.
I don't even remember.
I can't believe I'm missing on his name.
I don't remember.
I do this all the time, by the way. I'm horrible at names. I'll say the wrong name all the time, but I get it eventually. They do have some good depth. That's why I have them at 3, but you could easily see if they would fall off too.
Okay. So then who do you have at 4 then?
So
Clippers or Sacramento?
I have the Clippers falling off this year. I have Sacramento and Minnesota moving up.
You have Minnesota moving up.
I have Minnesota.
Whoa.
Like up at, what would that be?
4?
So
5.
So 3, 4, 5. So Minnesota I would have at 5. I think that.
And I have the Lakers 4, Clippers 5.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's going to make a run. It was interesting to watch how much they struggled with Cat down the stretch when he came back. I think that's eventually something they have to trade, have to.
I think
to make that work.
I honestly think Minnesota misses the playoffs.
Misses the playoffs. Not even a play-in team?
I think they trade. I think they either. So here's my thing. I think they either trade Cat and they make the playoffs, or they hold on to him and miss it.
You think if they keep him, they don't even make playoffs?
Yeah.
Interesting, man. In Cat's
I think
a weird story.
There's just so much weird crap, dude, with that locker room, with Gobert and Kyle Anderson last year, and Edwards and then Gobert. It's just there's so much just weird crap.
There's no question about that. It'd be interesting to see what's gone on in the locker room behind the scenes. I mean, we never should have given him Mike Conley because he's like the
dude, I wasn't even thinking about Mike Conley.
Freaking calming presence. Mike Conley's such a stud that way.
I completely spaced. Mike Conley was on that team.
I mean, he's 90 years old, man, but what a stud, dude. Tip your hat to Mike Conley.
I may have to move them up. Dude. I may have to move them up because I forgot Mike Conley was even there.
They would be a great candidate if they could trade Cat and get a nice young guard that would fit into what they're trying to do. I mean, Drew Holiday's not young, but that type of a guard or something like that to fit in with that team would have been great. If you could have taken off Cat and put somebody like that in, my goodness, dude.
Yeah.
They would have been fantastic. But
I think it all comes down to that. I think Edwards is going to take a big step forward. I do.
Anthony Edwards is showing signs of absolute superstar. You're moving into the top 6 or 7 player in the league, to me, probably this next year.
But does Mike Conley take a giant?
And we all saw it. He would have stretches where he was great, and then he'd, get tripped up and bang his knee on the floor, and we didn't see him for a month, man.
That's my concern.
And love seeing that dude play. He plays the right way. Love Mike Conley, but that can happen anytime. I think they're going to move up, though.
So you have them.
I have them at 5.
5.
I think the Clippers and Golden State, I think that they're going to take steps backwards this year.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the Chris Paul thing. If I miss it by a mile, come at me, smack me in the face, whatever. I don't get it. And he's already showing his ego in some press conferences and some answers he's given.
So this is wild expectations. I've got, and it's partially because of my expectations of what I want, what I feel like we have to see. This is more expectations of what we have to see out of Keontae George to be a championship level team. I have Utah at 6. If they start Keontae George, if they start him day one, I have them more like 8 or 9 because we will lose a lot of games.
You're talking about a difference of probably, 4 or 5 games?
Yeah.
Lose 4 or 5 more games. Interesting. I think that our ceiling would be into the 7-6 range if everything goes ideal. I think that's top.
And I think
scenario.
I think 4 or 5 to 12 are just so interchangeable. That's the problem.
And there's going to be so few games in between those positions. I think that we could. I think worst case scenario, and that's not just talking about everybody getting injured, but I think that we could be in the 12-13 range again.
Yeah, and that's my thing is me saying that they're going to miss the play-in and get in at 6. That saying, that we could be 12-13, you would barely need to nudge me to make me drop them that far.
And that isn't really us putting our foot down and putting our neck on the line by saying that, 4-13.
Yeah, that's why I will live with saying that I think they're going to be 6. But like I said, if they start Keontae day one, I will drop them to about 8 or 9. I still think we make the play-in.
Yeah, I think I could see us very easily in that range. I think that
you had Sacramento, Minnesota 5, 6. Then who?
6. I think the Thunder are going to move up this year. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, dude, is a monster. He averages over 10 free throws made per game and shoots like 91%, man. I think the jump that he's going to make, I don't think that they are championship level, but I think that they will move up into that legit range. I think Chet Holmgren will shore up some defensive stuff. I think that moves the other Jalen Williams to the backup 5s.
I truthfully dropped them a tiny bit. I still have them in the play-in. I dropped them a tiny bit because I think Chet Holmgren's going to struggle early on.
I think he'll struggle offensively. I think defensively he's going to be pretty impactful.
Okay, that's fair.
I don't think that they can make that final push to a top team until they trade Josh Giddey.
That's okay.
I think they have to move him on. I think there's too much overlap, too much redundancy with him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know. It kind of bugs me watching him play, and I think they can get great value out of him.
Right.
If they were to move him and a couple of their draft picks and stuff and pick up like a Zach LaVine.
The thing that's weird is now it's almost like they have to commit to Gilgeous-Alexander, right? When it's last season, the season before, they've been just trying desperately to trade him.
Get him. Yeah.
And now this dude, it's like, how do you trade this guy?
I think that him and Anthony Edwards this year are going to make the next bounce up to just unbelievable levels, and I think it'll carry the team. Plus, the Santa Clara Jalen Williams that we saw come in and flex for a half in the summer league.
Yeah,
I like him. He's nice. They need to get.
That's I think the problem with the Thunder is they have too many mouths to feed.
No question.
And I think it's going to hurt them early on.
I think they're going to have a lot of talent go out the door for free. Is what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you're going to lose players, and I mean, we even saw Trey Mann, what he could do, Isaiah Joe, some of these players that are nice backups, and I mean, they even picked up Casey Wallace in the draft.
Most Utah fans should know Isaiah Joe at this point.
Isaiah Joe's a nice player, even though Walker Kessler blocked him. The end.
But he lit us up.
Yeah, he's a great player off the bench, man.
Yeah,
great shooter. So they've got a lot of mouth to feed. Even Pokashevsky, what are they going to do with that guy? I think he's a talented big guy. Anyways, but for the Thunder, I think they're going to make a step up, but I think that they have to, and they've got 4 first-round picks this year, including one of ours. I think that they have to consolidate. Otherwise, they're just going to have a constant flow of players going out the door for free that have talent. And I've heard it said that a lot of GMs are kind of lurking, watching the Thunder situation of who they're going to grab for free as they come out the door.
Okay. Thunder at 6. Wow, that one surprises me. So who are your 4 play-in teams then? Who do we got 7 through 10?
So Memphis.
So I've got Golden State, Memphis, Pelicans, Thunder. So that's I still think Thunder, and those 4 I think are going to kind of float around within a game or two of each other all the way to the end. And I agree with you with Golden State with Chris Paul. The problem is that
Curry,
the
dude.
problem is that lineup is tiny.
It is.
That's the problem. The only reason I don't have them falling more is because I think Steph Curry is somehow playing better right now than he was in his MVP years.
And it sounds insane to go against that. I get it. It sounds stupid to hear myself say that.
I can't.
Curry is unbelievable.
I can't drop them any farther until Steph Curry shows me a reason not to. Until he shows me a reason to, yeah. I just can't.
Yeah, that's not crazy.
So those are my
same talk right there.
Play-in teams. I think the Pelicans make the play-in just like they did last year. I think they make the playoffs. They win the play-in this year and play well in the playoffs. I think Zion is able to get healthy at least at the end of the year. I think they'll be smarter with him this year. Get him healthy, and I think that's going to be a team that no one wants to face in the first round. Memphis. You're hoping Ja Morant comes back after 25 games being suspended, has no other problems, doesn't do anything stupid, but also doesn't get hurt. And you're hoping that to even have a good season for Memphis.
That's another team that the backcourt is going to be tiny. You're talking about Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, and Ja Morant.
You think they start Marcus Smart?
How can you not? He's supposed to be the defensive replacement for Dillon Brooks, isn't he?
Yeah.
Who else are they going to play in there?
Or do you think they bring him off the bench once Morant starts? I don't know. I see that being kind of a mess. I see the crap that Ja Morant has pulled, and I don't see him getting any smarter right now.
Unbelievable talent.
He is crazy gifted. There's no question. He is psychotically gifted. Just makes dumb mistakes, and I think that team might be a mess this year.
It could be. They showed that they played better without him there.
That's true.
Right? Last year, which was weird. And who was their backup guard last year that they started? Came out of Duke. Him and his brother.
Jones.
Yeah. And played well. I like
Tyus Jones was there?
Yeah.
I think Trey Jones is somewhere else. I think it was Tyus Jones.
Yeah, he went over to Washington. And so they started that small lineup last year and played well without Ja Morant. So
I think a big part of that is both the Jones brothers have crazy good assist to turnover ratios.
Absolutely. They're great.
So they weren't turning the ball over. They were getting more possessions. They were getting more shots because there's so
a lot of their usage was going through Desmond Bane.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. I put them down a little bit lower. So
what's your play-in teams?
So my play-in teams.
7 through 10.
So didn't I have Memphis at 7?
Memphis, I believe so.
Yeah. So Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis is 7.
I think that Golden State's going to be down on the bottom there. We'll say Golden State. I have the Jazz at 9, and the Mavericks at 10. Hoping that by the end of the season.
So you have Pelicans missing the playoffs.
I do. I have them.
Wow. Okay.
I think that they're going to need to do some trading and blow that part up, even though I love parts of their teams.
Right.
I'd like to see them. I mean, I like Dyson Daniels. I'd like to see them get a little bit more playing time for him. Basically,
aren't they trying to move him? Weren't they trying to move him?
But they didn't. So it says something, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to see him get in there.
You think Dallas
this will be interesting. I do, just because by the end of the season, I think that Grant Williams, Derek Lively, Olivier Maxence Prosper, I like that pick, and I like that pick, are going to start to click kind of by the end of the year. And I think that they could maybe even possibly make some noise, get into the playoffs. I think that they're going to struggle for a good chunk of the beginning of the season trying to play together and fill some of those defensive holes and handle the ups and downs and the drama of that whole thing.
Right. And that's why I have them missing the playoffs. Is I think they can put up great numbers. There's never been a question of Luka Doncic teams being able to put up great numbers. I don't think Luka Doncic is a guy to really lead a team to a championship. Is that different getting a team to the playoffs? For sure. But I just don't see that team defensively being able to do anything unless Derek Lively really, really shows that development.
Derek Lively, I love that they picked up Grant Williams. That's
True.
a great pickup for them.
Grant Williams as well. Grant Williams gives them a really good defender, 3-and-D type guy.
And they tried to pick up like Matisse Thybulle. They put out an offer sheet, but I think Portland matched it. So they really focused on their defensive side. I thought they made some really smart moves in the draft. But yeah, I have them right there at the very bottom. And if they get hot,
that's the thing. That is the thing. They are a team that in the playoffs. That's a team once again. It's so dangerous because of what they can do between Kyrie and Luka offensively.
Right. You say the same thing about the Clippers. If we saw them, it looked like they were going to knock Phoenix out of the first round last year because they, and then all of a sudden Fragile playoff Paul fell apart.
Push off P.
Anyways, and it's so you kind of have to guess what's going to happen. Once again, I'll still stand by it. I think that if we face the Pelicans healthy in the playoffs, we lose a series. But I think we'll have a better regular season record than them.
But then Pelicans first out.
And then who do we even have left?
So
Portland, San Antonio, Houston.
Well,
I think I left the Clippers out too.
Did you leave the Clippers out of the playoffs? So you got Clippers and Pelicans first out.
I mean, Russell Westbrook with that group.
Which, that's the thing. That could happen. If Paul George and Kawhi Leonard play 10 games,
I know
they don't make the playoffs.
The league is going to force them.
That's not crazy to see.
With the no sit-out rule, or at least they have to be a little bit more creative and notify the league sooner. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just rolling the dice on that.
Kawhi Leonard threw a fit about today.
I know.
So
I know.
So I don't. It's not as crazy as when you first say it. When you really think about it, it's not as crazy as it seems. Them not making the playoffs. It's just not.
But could Golden State and the Clippers be the 2 and the 4 seed? Yeah. How stupid is that?
That's what's crazy. Is
how stupid is that?
I legitimately think 3 through 12. It's just a freaking dice roll.
And with the minimum salary requirements that are kicking in this year, it makes it so that top to bottom is just squoze down even more.
Which is great.
Love it.
I think it's great.
And in the West, there are no nights off. You'll have a San Antonio, and I think Houston's going to be a bit of a laugher. But
so my bottom 3 teams, I have Portland, San Antonio, Houston. I think Houston bringing in Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks
what could go wrong
is just going to, and then whatever is happening with Kevin Porter.
They probably lucked out. I think they'll probably be able to void his contract,
dude. Whatever. I think, and then Udoka there. That team, that organization's a mess, man. And we've talked about this. Is when that turns into a mess, that's when you say, "Hey, that rookie of yours, Thompson."
It is sitting on the bench, not playing much, behind $45 million a year VanVleet,
and whatever they signed Dylan Brooks.
I think he's $20 million. I think they did 4 years, $80 million.
But
is that what they did? I don't know.
You poach a guy like that
because in their mind, I mean, these are the moments of leverage you look for when you're trying to play general manager, front office guy. In Houston's mind. They've had the worst 3-year stretch in their franchise history,
and they're trying to really make a push for the playoffs.
And they're saying now, "Hey, we're a veteran squad. We've got great players." And they're saying, "Look at us." And if that all of a sudden doesn't happen, the first 10, 15, 20 games will be like, "Man, you need some good veterans.
Man, you need a guy to be able to come off and light every team up.
You need
like Jordan Clarkson,
or
Colin
whatever,
Sexton,
and it will take that rookie off your bench that's not playing very much. Now,
Man.
obviously, they value him, but in that situation, that would be a moment of leverage you could look for, and that's what I would be trying to do.
Yeah,
I mean, you have moments like that where you can see Amen Thompson is possibly
I think
overlooked a little bit. You can see moments where Jaden Ivey is maybe a little bit overlooked because of the redundancy in Detroit. You look for moments where
I was like Jaden Ivey.
yeah, he's a new Houston player. But I mean, Cade Cunningham's another player that I think is
I think
awesome.
Cunningham's
Wow,
going to explode.
He's looking
this year.
tough. Watching his off-season stuff. So those are the moments you look for of leverage where they have a player that's a little bit redundant that they maybe don't value as much as he could be valued in.
I could see San Antonio being the worst team in basketball again.
Sure, and I think they would be fine with that.
Yeah, I think Wembanyama is really going to struggle this year. A lot of people are going to make fun of the Spurs. A lot of people are going to make fun of Wembanyama, and then in 4 years, he's going to be one of the most dominant players.
I also subscribe to that.
So, we good with the West?
I think so. I mean, I could very well have every bit of it wrong,
dude. And that's the thing is Portland.
Send
Portland,
your comments. Love it.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Because Portland, we really didn't.
I'm excited to watch Portland play.
What do you get out of Scoot Henderson this year? Because if you get huge development, like Scoot Henderson just hits the floor freaking running, Portland could easily make a case for the playoffs. With DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle, I think the freaking odd man out.
Shaden Sharp. I mean, Anthony Simons. Are they even going to play?
That's the thing is the odd man out that they need to move on, but for some reason are building around is Anthony Simons.
That's another player we need to try and get, man. That's leverage city right there because he's not going to be the guy that gets in there and gets the playing time. And they just picked up Malcolm Brogdon, who is an awesome backup point guard. I loved him.
It depends on how healthy he is.
That's true. I've heard he has possibly his elbow thing's pretty bad. But I mean, I've loved him since he was in college, and I think it's a great fit for being there. Whereas Anthony Simons is not.
Yeah,
and he's another guy that's kind of in the same. Matter of fact, he's the same class as Tyler Hero, similar salary. That would be another person to possibly try and get in there as just a point of leverage where he doesn't quite fit. He's not going to be happy, but I'm excited to see Portland play. If we get,
I love Scoot Henderson.
If we get, I mean, he played what 3/4 of the entire summer league, like not 3/4 of the league, 3/4 in one game,
right?
And then he had a mystery didn't happen injury, right?
He had a GM called up the coach and said, "Get him.
He's done. Get him out of there." His first quarter was unbelievable.
I think if that dude develops any sort of a jump shot, holy crap, the freaking league is in trouble.
The way that he manhandled
you guys,
players.
I've been obsessed with Scoot Henderson for years. I wanted him so bad for the Jazz this year. I would have considered taking him over Wembanyama because I think he is every bit of a generational talent that Wembanyama is. I do. With he plays the game like Westbrook in the style of just a physical monster, except I don't think he's as reckless as Westbrook.
Except he's a playmaker for his teammates much more than Westbrook was.
Westbrook put up crazy numbers, but there's once again one of those things where it's more of a usage thing.
Yeah, he went for his own first and then would kind of find his teammates as it went through because he had such gravity.
Where if you watch Scoot Henderson, he more looks for the pass. He looks like a prototypical old school point guard who's looking for the pass first.
Who has Derrick Rose athleticism.
Dude. Yeah.
He's been impressive.
That's what makes this so fun, but so hard, which is why we want to hear what you guys think is you tell us that you think, for like I said, I got Minnesota not making playoffs. You guys say you got Minnesota at 3. I think that's a pretty dang good argument,
Yeah, who knows? In Minnesota, you could have another situation where teammates are throwing punches again on the court, and they're, I don't know.
That's the problem, right? That is the problem with Gobert with his Frenchness.
His problem with him is he is French.
It's just it's a culture thing, right? And sometimes that's really hard for people.
He's pretty abrasive. It comes from a place of wanting to win and wanting to be great.
For sure. And I loved him in Utah. Like I love the way he handled himself when he left. I want Gobert to be successful. I don't want the Timberwolves to be successful.
Yeah, we need them to suck.
But yeah, you should be more on board with me not having to make the playoffs.
That's not what I'm wanting them to do. We do need them to suck, though. So they need to keep Karl Anthony Towns
and suck
and just implode. Anthony Edwards leave, retire. Yeah,
love you, Mike, but retire.
Absolutely, that would be
so.
That would be great. We went through the offseason once again without Danny Ainge giving up any of our draft picks.
Yes.
And even though I'm a guy who always looks for leverage and looks for opportunities, I always find myself saying, just throw a draft pick in there. Just throw a couple in there. Get it done.
Right. Which is why we didn't get Drew Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
For you guys, if you don't know, so we called on Drew Holiday. We were interested until it was going to cost us 2 first rounders, and then Danny Ainge, I'm assuming, just kind of hung up the phone and
right,
may have said some choice words.
He obviously is valuing our draft picks, and each time we go through a situation of possibility of trading up in the draft or getting into the draft a year ago, right? Even though I find myself having a tendency of wanting to spend those draft picks and move up and make it happen afterwards, I'm like, you're right.
Right.
It's smart not to do it. He's valuing them nicely.
We do need to consolidate so we don't run into the problem that the Thunder have had. They're starting to figure it out a little bit more, but it took them too long, in my opinion. We do need to start consolidating a little bit.
I think we have a year into next season.
Yeah.
Because we don't, at this point, we're expecting not to have our first round pick next year.
So then we'll kind of see what happens beyond that.
I think that's where it lands.
So, okay. Eastern Conference. I think the Eastern Conference is a little easier than the Western Conference. I do. When I was looking at who I felt
who the
like
top two are. That's for
yes.
Sure. My goodness.
And I think it's similar. The Eastern Conference kind of has that little bouncing around. Nowhere near as deep as the Western Conference of teams. The 13 seeds could be the 4 seed. It's not going to happen in the Eastern Conference. Western Conference for sure. I have Boston number 1. Man, I think Drew Holiday.
I can't argue with that.
Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Porzingis. Holy freaking crap! You would think Danny Ainge is putting that team together.
Brad Stevens, man.
Like that dude.
Brad Stevens, man.
Him moving from coaching into the front office was such a good thing for Boston.
Bravo, dude.
Holy
and I mean, when they got Porzingis, yeah, they had to move Marcus Smart, but they acquired a first rounder in that one and got Porzingis.
Yeah, and then used that first rounder to go get Drew Holiday.
Yeah, they had to use one of their own, and I think they ended up with Golden State's first next year, something like that.
Something like that.
That's where it came from. So I may have that wrong, but bravo, Brad Stevens. I mean, I can't argue the Celtics is the number 1 seed right now. Basically Derek White backing up the 1. Are they going to start him at the 2? No, because I mean they play.
No, you start. So they start Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Porzingis, who's the 5.
Because they moved Robert Williams. They're still gonna have old as dirt. I don't know his name. He's the older guy he's been in the league forever. Shoots the 3. I'm not gonna figure out his name.
Shoots the 3. Daniel Tice? He was there forever.
No,
he's not there anymore.
No, he plays for Dominican Republic or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, crap! Why am I now drawing a blank? Dude, I'm getting your sickness.
I know, man. I do this to people. It's gonna be so obvious once we. Al Horford.
Yeah.
And they picked up Jordan Walsh in the draft.
I always forget about freaking Al Horford, and he continues to just be good.
I said it correctly. Old as dirt, shoots a 3. That is correct. And I gotta say, they picked up Jordan Walsh in the draft, who I would not have sworn at the TV had we drafted him. Just saying.
So that's your starting lineup with Boston. So that dude, that's a team ready to make a run.
And even though Porzingis, I've never really pictured him as a real key piece on a championship squad. I mean, he's nice with that around him. He's nice with that. If he can stay healthy,
yeah,
that's going to be hard to argue with that in the clash between them and Milwaukee.
The thing is how many easy looks he's going to get.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. How many just easy looks he's going to get.
And both him and Horford can spread the floor like crazy.
Dude. So Boston 1, Milwaukee 2.
Has to be.
They just traded for Dame. They have to be the number 2 in my eyes.
They lost a little bit of their depth, right?
Which, yeah. But, yeah, I don't see any other teams possibly taking over the 1 and 2 there. I think Philadelphia falls off a freaking cliff with what's happening with James Harden.
Is he even going to show up?
He hasn't.
Did he show up today at media day?
No,
He said he wasn't going to.
he did not
I
show
forgot
up.
to check. Yeah.
He did not show up, and so
Let me say that again. I will not. What is the
so
GM is a liar.
I have, because of that, I have New York at 3.
When is New York going to consolidate on a big name? They've got so many big picks.
Jalen Brunson? I think regular season wise, New York is very good. I think RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle even regular.
Is Julius Randle going to put up numbers like he did last year again? That kind of was a surprise to everyone.
Yeah.
Choked in the playoffs, which is kind of his thing.
Yep, and I think they'll do it again. I think they'll be the 3 seed, and I think they'll struggle in the playoffs.
I think Grimes is coming along nicely. Quickly's coming along nicely at their backup.
But I also, and this is, I think 3 through 6. I think 3 through 6 kind of interchangeable for me. But yeah, I don't know. I like them.
To the East,
so I've got Miami 4. There's such a question mark on what happens with Hero there, man. But even with a healthy Hero and stuff like that, I think they make a push for it. But I also could see them being like the 7th seed again and then making a run in Miami fashion. I think they trade Hero, and I think they get some pretty good pieces around Jimmy Butler to make them. I don't think they go as deep in the playoffs this year, but I think they get home court advantage. And a big part of that is because I don't think Cleveland's going to be as good as they were this year. I don't think Max Strus and George Niang are the answer to their problems.
Hold on. Who would have been the answer at the 3 for them?
Larry Markkinen?
Oh, he would have been good.
You know who also may have been good is Ochai Agbaji? Maybe help some defense at the guard spot?
Wow, that could have helped.
Wild.
We may do a show on that later.
I think they go to 5. I think there's going to be some drama there. There are already talks of Donovan Mitchell not willing to sign an extension with these guys.
Which we knew would happen.
Which is why we traded him, right? That's why we did.
At the perfect time.
And so I could see them being the 3 seed. Yeah, for sure. Donovan Mitchell had a career year last year, and I could see him riding that momentum and having every bit as good of a season. But I think the pieces they brought in are going to make them worse, not better.
Yeah, I don't think Strus is going to do it either.
I think Strus is not as good. George Niang is not good.
They'll both be able to shoot better than Isaac Okoro, sure. But they won't be able to do the 3 and D that they need. I don't think that Donovan Mitchell's usage allows Evan Mobley to really progress like he needs to, and everybody expected a second year.
The ball needs to be in Darius Garland's hand.
And it for sure holds back Darius Garland.
The ball needs to be in Darius Garland's hand. For the better of Cleveland, Darius Garland and Mobley need to be it. Partially because Donovan Mitchell is going to leave.
We know that's going to happen. I'd be very surprised if it didn't.
But also, matchup-wise, when you're talking about this team throughout the season, are they going to start George Niang? Because if they do, for example, when we play them, who the freak is that guy going to guard on our team? You're going to put him on John Collins? You're going to put him on Markkinen? Either of them will eat him alive. And that's why I have them at the 5. I don't know your 3 through 5, but that's mine.
I'm not really heavy on it. I find it hard to really go against Miami because somehow they're magic. And Jimmy Butler now has a hairdo that looks like Andre 3000 from Outkast.
Yes.
Have y'all seen that? That's wild.
Did his I don't know if you guys saw last year of his media stunt. Awesome. And then immediately changed his hair back to what it was. It seems like he's doing that again.
Just because the media picture is the one that goes on the roster pictures at the start of every game. It's pretty genius.
For the season. So it's
awesome.
Pretty funny. And that's the problem with the Heat, though, right? When I was looking at the Heat, it's like, man, you guys could be the 3 seed. Man, you guys could be the 9 seed.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think they made some mistakes this offseason. There's no doubt about it. To let Gabe Vincent and Strus walk, that might have been part of the downfall of why they didn't get Damian Lillard. because they didn't have those pieces to throw in. Also, it could have been that they pissed off the Trailblazers front office by basically trying to sabotage it from the start,
trying
trying to
to
strong arm them into the can only
well,
go one place.
that's why I thought it was funny that Jimmy Butler immediately
Yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to come
yeah.
out and
That's funny.
say that the Milwaukee was tampering when the fiasco that was happening there. But I'm still not voting against Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, that's tough, man. I don't see them falling that much. I think that them and in New York and Cleveland are kind of all in the same realm there. Is Toronto ever going to move off of a player? What's
Dude,
going on with
I don't know. I've got so I've
Ujiri over there?
I've got Philly at 6, the last team out of the play-in. Whatever's happening with Harden, Embiid is legit, and Embiid is incredible, and him alone, I think, can just carry them to that.
All
Beyond
right.
that, I don't know what happens with James Harden. But I do have Toronto, the first team, barely not missing the play-in. I have them at
Yeah.
7, and dude, I don't know. I don't know what the freak Toronto's doing.
I can't understand for the life of me what their GM's strategy is and what he's doing. I mean, they let Van Vliet walk.
They won't they commit, but don't commit to Scotty Barnes.
Yeah. So does that mean they're now gonna? It looks like they're gonna re-sign Siakam to a majorly huge contract.
Right.
What are they gonna do with OG Anunoby? They picked up Grady Dick in the draft. Gary Trent Jr. opted in. It doesn't seem like they're really making any moves other than trading a first round pick to get Jakob Pertl back last year. I don't know.
I don't know. I have them at 7, and like, I just they confuse me.
They've got so much talent and ability to possibly make some moves and get younger and kind of do a rebuild without tearing it all down.
They needed to rookie season Scotty Barnes fully commit to building a team fully around him, and they've just played around with Siakam for so long.
Yeah. And they've got talent there that teams want.
Yes,
that teams want.
We tried to get Anunoby for 2 years.
And word was that Memphis
tried to get John Collins
them,
for 2 years too, but got him for a second rounder.
There was an article last year, right before the trade deadline, when we were sure that OG Anunoby was going to go somewhere, that Memphis offered them 3 firsts.
Yeah,
and they declined it.
Dude,
wow,
I don't know
what is going on. That's, anyways. Who knows? They may pull something out great, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. So
play-in, I got Toronto, Brooklyn, Indiana, Orlando.
I like Brooklyn's future. I'm interested in Indiana, man. I want to see what they're going to do this year.
Dude, I think Halliburton, in my opinion, is the best straight-up point guard in the NBA.
And I love their backup, man. Nembhard is a stud.
Yes.
Love Nembhard. They got Obi Toppin this year.
Oh, dude, I forgot. Man, Obi Toppin, I think Obi Toppin explodes this year.
Obi Toppin, and they drafted Jarris Walker. So what's going to happen with those two guys? Is there going to be enough room to be in front of?
Are they going to move
to be able to play alongside Miles Turner?
Move from Miles Turner over? I think Obi Toppin's a better fit next to Miles Turner.
And Jarris Walker will have a little bit more of creative tones, and it was interesting watching him this past year and going against Taylor Hendricks so much because they were playing in the same conference, same position.
Right.
Went head to head twice. I thought Taylor Hendricks got the better of him both times they played.
Right.
Some of that goes into what each team and their role they needed him to have, but they both had great seasons. Both compared against each other a lot. Jarris Walker is much better communicator defensively and in position early, and has instincts that will shut down things that won't even let him happen, whereas Taylor Hendricks kind of goes with the flow and then comes flying out of nowhere and swats things and is a little bit less disciplined and not as good a communicator, but athleticism and movement is elite.
Right.
Boy, it's fun to watch them play. And so him and Obi Toppin being compared to each other and playing there, I really liked their draft.
I think they start Obi Toppin with Jarris Walker being a rookie, but also Obi Toppin. I think they're going to realize really early on with Halliburton that, man, Obi Toppin is legit, and that dude, I would not be surprised to see him win Most Improved Player.
he could really put up some good numbers. That's a player that we really wanted to get because we felt that he was just going to explode at some point. That the New York coaching style and being behind Julius Randle was really holding him back. Obviously, didn't get his chance.
If you look at when Obi Toppin was playing, when Julius Randle was hurt, Obi Toppin was freaking. He was good.
Put up good numbers and shot good percentage also from three.
Yes.
And so basically, when Julius Randle's in there, he played a few minutes a game, and he would just basically have transition buckets and big dunks and leak out. And I'm excited to see him play. Obi Toppin's nice. And then is this the year that Benedict Mathurin really explodes on the scene?
That's true too. That was part of with Indiana is I felt like Mathurin was going to take another step this season to make that starting lineup just, or do they bring him off the bench as their sixth man?
They did last year.
Yeah, they're intriguing this year. I still don't think they're.
I think they're a few years away.
Yeah,
but man, I anytime I get a chance to watch them play, I will for sure.
Right, and then Orlando at that 10 spot, last team to play in. Banchero and Franz Wagner together are so good. That's a team that they'll flirt around the play-in for the next year or two, and then depending on what they do, they may explode. They very easily, if Milwaukee and Boston kind of implode, I could see in 4 years or 4 or 5 years Orlando being the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, depending on Banchero and Wagner's development, because those two.
I was looking at this the other day. You know who the highest salary player on Orlando Magic is?
Highest salary?
Per year. What's your guess?
Dude, don't they have some veteran that was on a bigger contract? Or is it like Banchero?
No, it's Jonathan Isaac.
Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Isaac.
Injured
he's like
for 3 years.
17 or something.
He got hurt right when he got a contract.
And man, Jonathan Isaac, if you remember seeing him in his prime, he was fantastic. It'll be interesting to see what that team does. I was a little puzzled by their draft. They drafted Anthony Black and then Jet Howard at 11. That was insane.
I didn't want anything to do with Jet Howard, so I was okay with that.
Yeah, it was interesting because they have 3 point guards, Cole Anthony, Fultz, and Jalen Suggs.
And then they drafted Anthony Black.
And then they drafted Anthony Black.
I feel like they've been wanting to move on from Suggs for a while.
Okay. But they drafted basically another Suggs.
Yeah, that's true.
Anthony Black is a little bit more intelligent in the open court and moving the ball, but he's a bigger physical defensive presence. Jalen Suggs is a defensive stud.
Yeah.
But just can't shoot. And guess what? Anthony Black can't shoot. What's going on, man?
No, he cannot.
So it's I remember all the year long that people were, saying Anthony Black would be great to the Jazz. I really didn't want that.
I didn't want him. I did not.
Just because I love his size and his defense and his playmaking, sure. But he passes up wide open shots.
That's the thing is the way Hardy's offense, Anthony Black, I don't think fits.
Yeah. And so I'm just a little puzzled by that draft pick, which kind of fits into a logjam they already have. And what are they going to do there with moving that?
They're another team. If they make the right moves, that's when they will explode.
They don't have as many draft picks, I don't think, but they have a nice young, like they don't have draft picks like the Jazz or the Thunder type deal, or even like Brooklyn has quite a few. But that young core is exciting and also versatile,
dude.
I mean, and you remember you went to the game when Orlando played at Utah last year.
Yes, I did.
And you remember what happened at the end of the game is they tried to make a play to win it. Franz Wagner, end of the game, shoots it. What happens? Laurie swatted him.
Oh, yeah, the guy who took a step back defensively last year.
Yeah, that blows me away. Anyways, Orlando's really like them. Fun team to watch. They've got some log jams and some really interesting things going on there.
They're another team that if they're on, I'm turning that game on, man. Mm-hmm. They are similar to that Banchero. Banchero, I thought was a clear-cut number one in his draft. I thought with every good bit as good as Holmgren is, Banchero was the Number one. He is too much of a LeBron James, just freak athleticism, smart, hard worker, playmaker that and just physically imposing already at 18 he was that it was just
Yeah.
that
He's
that dude is on a very good career path.
he's fun to watch. It'll be interesting to see what that organization does. I still think they're a few years and some really smart trades and
Yeah,
stuff away
that's fair.
from making it happen.
So my first team out's Charlotte. I think Charlotte could make a push at the end of the year, depending on Brandon Miller's development and what happens with Miles Bridges. Whatever's happening there, I could see them making a push. But I think they're a year out from figuring that out. But I think this is going to be a really good season of learning for Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball together, to where coming into next season, they're making some noise.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Brandon Miller and just talking about obviously his play on the court. Struggled towards the end of the year, but we heard that there was a possibility of like a sickness there as he was kind of going to the
Yeah.
NCAA. And obviously,
Wasn't it like
there was possibly
mono?
mono, which is
Yeah, which
brutal.
takes forever to recover from.
And then he really struggled in the summer league as well. But if you looked at, they were playing Nick Smith at the point guard with him, and also Book Knight. And I mean, you're going to struggle getting some good looks with that.
Yeah,
Could he have done more and been more demanding of the ball? And yeah, I think that he's going to be fine though. I like Brandon Miller.
And that's the thing, is I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to have a lot of those same struggles. Obviously, not getting the ball. Lamelo's an incredible playmaker, but same struggles of just making bad decisions through this first season. But I think it's something that towards the end of the year and then into next season, that's why I say that that's when they're really going to start making that push. Is you're going to start seeing why they wanted him.
Both of us really liked how, as the year went along, they finally moved up Mark Williams and got him playing time.
Yeah, I love
playing at their center.
Love Mark Williams.
I think that he has a skill set that is nice in the NBA. And if some of you haven't heard, there's word from some of the shooting coaches and everything that worked with him on his skill that say that he has one of the most smooth jumpers that they've ever seen from a big guy.
Yes.
So
I think
his ceiling is insane. He's got a taller standing reach than Kessler. He's insanely athletic. It'll be interesting to see if he can handle the psychological pressures and the pulls.
And his position defensively is so good. Like, there's so many plays that in college, and even when he started really getting more minutes last year, that dude just affects that you're not going to see. He may be a guy that's like, oh, he only had one block, okay. But like 20 other plays, he made a huge impact on, just because of his positional ability, his ability to switch out onto a guard because of his athleticism and size.
Yeah,
he's
really impactful defensively.
Really good.
And if he would have got into a lot more playing time earlier in the season, which is kind of what we wanted to see, it would have been.
I think he could have had
numbers.
He's another guy that I think is with the type of playmaker LaMelo is, and the type of role freak athlete that Mark Williams is. You can really have some highlight level chemistry there.
Now, Charlotte lost some of their depth. Kelly Oubre left, right? And Dennis Smith Jr. left. He went to Brooklyn. Who else? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. So I think they'll kind of struggle, but the Miles Bridges thing is interesting.
Yeah.
Before he was suspended, he was playing at an elite level.
He was playing at an all-star level.
Freak. He was tough.
Yeah.
Unbelievable athletic. So that'll be interesting to see. And maybe
So would you say they're your first kind of team out as well, or?
It'll be, I don't know if their depth is going to hurt them a little bit more than that. I don't know. I think that if they have a good season, they can be in the play-in range.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe the magic key is Michael Jordan not owning the franchising.
Maybe
kidding. That's the.
I truthfully, for me, dude, I want to see LaMelo be successful. That to go from hating him when he was in high school. Just the stupidness that was there.
He-
The way that kid handled all of that when he went to Australia, and the way he matured through that and kind of separated himself from his dad and all of that stuff made me just
You got to tip your hat to that.
dude, I appreciate the grind that he has had, and I want to see him be successful.
You have to say that the odds were severely against him in what he achieved.
Yes.
Climbing the mountain on his own. I mean, I said out loud the year that his dad took him and Jello,
D'Angelo. Yeah.
yeah, over to, where did they go to?
Lithuania. Dude, that was
to play I'm like, that, what is he doing? What an idiot. That's not going to work. And that wasn't super successful. But then LaMelo came back.
Australia.
He played a little bit. He played, I think, a season like prep academy in the U.S. and then went to Australia. And I'm like, kiss this dude goodbye. And wow, was I wrong. Not even close. I mean,
and not only did he go over there and play well, all of his players, all of his teammates spoke highly of him. All of his teammates spoke about his maturity and the way he approached the game and the way that he matured through the season and grew. All of them spoke highly of him. That's what made me kind of shift on him of like, oh crap.
You had to. I had to, eat crow, turn around, and
yeah,
I was wrong. That was amazing what he accomplished, and doing that all kind of with the toxic father pressures, big baller brand company stuff that was going on.
Yeah. And then kind of my last four, I think the bottom, these guys are all, kind of similar level. Detroit, I think, is the next real one that's up next because of Cade Cunningham's play. Beyond that,
Jalen Duren has looked nice.
Yeah.
Asar Thompson, my goodness. The stuff that kid does.
That truthfully could push them into play-in, right?
I really struggle to see how Jaden Ivey fits into all that.
Yes.
That's why I mentioned that before. And I think Jaden Ivey's a good player. I just think that Cade Cunningham is exceptional. And if he can stay healthy.
I truthfully don't think they expected him to take that superstar step that he felt like he's taking.
My goodness, if you didn't see the videos of this summer, the reserve team playing our U.S. team, getting them ready for the FIBA World Cup, Cade Cunningham came in, was running the point for him, and was dominant.
Good.
Dominant against our, first team, which
was.
But anyways, and then watching some of the stuff in the, like the Rico Hines runs and stuff in there is, man.
Yeah.
He looks really nice and set to take a big leap forward. I don't know about Jaden Ivey. What are they going to do with Bogdanovich? And they've got the Jalen Duren, Isaiah Jackson.
Yes.
No.
It's
I always get them mixed
Isaiah
up.
Jackson.
Isaiah Jackson, Marvin Bagley, James Wiseman. What's going on there?
I would start Duren.
For sure.
You start Duren. Can you play him and Wiseman together? Or is Wiseman officially his career over?
What's going on there? And Marvin Bagley.
His career's been over for a while.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, but they've got a real logjam there. What's going to go on with Bogdanovich? He's a tradable piece that teams would be interested in.
Yeah.
A real 3-point shooter.
Or is he a guy that stays on the team as a veteran that kind of helps take these guys to where the next level is, and then he goes away?
They signed him to a bigger contract. I can't remember exactly the numbers after we traded him to them.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, though, is like for the next few years, he kind of helps be a veteran as this younger team is developing, and then last year of his contract or end of his contract just leaves. I could see that happening there.
I don't see how they can keep Asar Thompson off the court, though. My goodness,
that's true.
That guy, especially if he can continue to develop a jumper, just the defensive play and the overall things that he does that makes the team better, that won't see the stat sheet, and the athleticism and his selflessness, and wow.
That's
true. I love Asar Thompson. I was high on him in the draft, but I wasn't even close to where he was.
Yeah.
My goodness. Love that dude.
And then I think Atlanta, Chicago, Washington, I think those three are just all three.
So what's going to happen in Chicago? Word is there's an article that came out saying that they aren't ready to blow it up right now, but they're going to watch the first part of the season and the fingers on the trigger.
Yeah.
Basically.
That situation with Lonzo there is just awful. It's sad. And Yeah, I think midway through the season they are fire sale.
It'll be interesting to see. Is Alonzo Ball really going to come back and play? He's got what, 2 years left
I've heard
on his
I've
contract.
heard he could miss this season.
They've already said he's out this season.
Yeah, like this season. Well, and then what happens at that point?
So yeah, to me, I've talked to you to you about that it's a leverage point. To me, that they have to have the Lonzo Ball contract, and to be honest, they would be foolish to think that he's going to come back and do anything.
Yeah,
That's dream scenario.
I think those are three teams that. I mean, what happens with Atlanta now?
They definitely took a step back talent wise, right? By giving away John Collins
For a second, protected second.
Top 57 protected. We don't know what the protection is, but we think it's a token gesture. That's my guess. Can we just have something to say to our fans that we did something, please? Okay, how about a top 57? Okay.
They would have been better off asking us to put soda in their soda machine for 2 years, man.
Copier. It's true. They took a step back talent-wise. It'll be interesting to see what Quinn Snyder's going to do. Word is that he's been given the reins to the program, and if he wants to shift direction from Trae Young, word is that he can make that call.
Wow.
I love DeJounte Murray in his impact as far as defensive to offense.
Right.
A little bit of a headache, but that'll be interesting to see. I don't think they're anywhere competitive.
No.
I mean,
like I said, I think those three teams are just all bad.
Yeah, their draft. I mean, they picked up Kobe Buffkin, who's, point guard, but I don't think he's anything. He'll be a good role player, and Mohamed Gay. I don't know if you know who that is.
No.
He was a second rounder that got out of Washington State. He was interesting upside. The guy's 6'11", smooth shot, raw in some aspects, but nice player.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think all those kind of at the end, and then Washington's just kind of has a bunch of new pieces, and Jordan Poole's going to put up a ton of points and think he's awesome, and
he'll lead them to a bottom 5 record.
Yeah, they'll get a lot of good draft picks in the future. Yeah, but I think that's kind of fair to say. The East is kind of mushy once you get out of the top 3 or 4, and the West is insane.
Yeah. Cool.
I think we've talked a lot, and we've glossed over a lot of things.
Yeah, and as we go on, we'll tackle more certain things more in depth. We're really planning on, in a few weeks, we're planning on doing these every Wednesday, every 2 weeks, and really diving into the trades, the Donovan Mitchell, Gobert trades. Really start diving into more of like the football season, soccer, for you guys. Shawn, extremely knowledgeable on that end of it. And so if you guys have made it to the end of this video, let us know what you'd like to see. And in the podcast, let us know what you'd like to see. Let us know what you guys think of our rankings and how awful you think they are, or how great you think they are, and what your rankings are. I'd love to read about it and see kind of where a general consensus is right now of other fan bases of their teams.
Yep, and I am excited to see the lineup on Sunday.
Yes.
I mean, that'll be...
And
we'll hear reports coming out during the week, and I'm stoked for Sunday.
Yes, and we'll be doing videos after, YouTube videos after games, so even the preseason games, but after games, just initial reactions with all the adrenaline and excitement.
Yeah, and basically just having a camera on, doing what we've done for years now anyways.
Yeah.
Kind of just talk and argue.
Nothing's really going to change much beyond there's now a camera. It's the exact same stuff we do anyway.
And we usually have drinks and food while we're doing it, and
yes,
scratching my butt. I don't know. so that part changed. That's the only part
that changed. The old man can't be an old man so much, but
whatever, man. I grew up in Wyoming. It's part of the territory, dude.
Awesome. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all for listening. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.
2 weeks.